Thou art now live streaming to YouTube.
Okay. Switching our logo.
All right.
Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to Techies Talking Tech Tonight. This is the show where we talk about tech
Tonight,
and pretty much at this point on some random night of the week that we can't necessarily predict when that's going to be. So on tonight's episode, we have
we're bringing Modern Warfare back.
We're bringing Modern Warfare. So
At least on the controllers.
We busted out in a convoluted system of parts buying. We are going to bring you the previous version of a brand new game from last week. Last week,
The best game from last week, from 15 years ago? 10 years ago?
2003?
There we go.
2002?
12 years ago.
12, 13 years ago. Okay, so last week, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 came out. You know, the 5th Tony Hawk game.
That's not even close to true.
That's not even close to true.
That's not even like is it okay, is it the 5th one this year? I could believe that.
No.
5th one this decade, possibly.
Maybe. No, they stopped doing annual. So, I was trying to count this. It was Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Pro Skater 2, Pro Skater 3, Pro Skater 4, Underground, American Wasteland, something else.
Obviously, I stopped following it after
Project
Underground.
8.
I don't even remember that.
Skate's the rival brand. Tony Hawk Ride. That was the first one with the board controller.
That was the one where they had the board and the...
Tony Hawk Shred. The second one with the board controller.
Oh,
what
gosh.
Tony Hawk defends is what he always envisioned the board controller to be. Tony Hawk Pro Skater
I'd forgotten about the board controller.
HD collection, which included 1, 2, and 3 in HD.
I almost bought that on Steam.
And now Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. But it's garbage.
So instead of playing that game...
Jeff Gersman of GiantBomb.com, in playing the game live on the internet, said, in a very sad voice, I might add, it's not a good game. The level design's garbage, the loading screens are ridiculous, the online connectivity makes no sense. Some of it is just straight up broken. There's a lot of bad physics. You can clip through walls, especially on the user-generated levels. You're sort of always online and sort of not, but you get no benefit from it. Have I mentioned the level design is garbage?
See, that's something I thought they worked out, years ago. So,
no, but okay. So there's an important thing to realize about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. It is not made by the original Tony Hawk developer. Because they went on to make Guitar Hero, and then now they make Call of Duty maps.
They're Activision, correct?
Well, Activision's the publisher still, but it's Neversoft.
Okay.
The people who took Guitar Hero over from Harmonix.
Okay.
And then, so they shifted from skateboards to Plastic Instruments to now just being kind of a nothing studio supporting the Call of Duty machine. This game is made by the same people that did Tony Hawk Ride and Tony Hawk Shred.
The worst Tony Hawk games.
And Tony Hawk HD, all three of which were panned. So, I don't really know why we had high hopes for this, because this studio has never... Robomoto, I believe it is called. Robomoto has never made a good Tony Hawk game. In fact, they've made the 4, like you can say like Underground and
they were
American
derivative.
Wasteland were derivative and added a story mode where you didn't really need it and were bloated.
But they weren't awful games.
But they were putting out one of these games every year, and the sense I get in my memory is they were eminently playable. Like I wouldn't go out of my way to play them, but I'd pick it up and go, this is some Tony Hawk. Like it felt right, it functioned. They were decent games. It was just the thing that Activision does. You see it now with Call of Duty. You saw it with Guitar Hero. They take a franchise, they pour everything in it, and they put it every year and run it into the ever-loving ground.
Until you're so tired of it, you never want to play it again. It
was like last year and the year before with Ubisoft making open-world games where you had to climb towers to unlock things. They did it with Assassin's Creed. They did it with Far Cry. They did it with Watch_Dogs. They did it with that car game, The Crew.
You did climb things in The Crew, which I never really understood.
You drove up to satellite dishes with the same idea, and then you unlocked the map.
You had to synchronize.
And then activate Leap of Faith.
Do we want to play some of this while...
So, what we've queued up instead of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 is apparently the previous iteration of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series, Neversoft's Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 for the original Xbox as played on an
Xbox One.
An Xbox 360.
Or Xbox 360.
Xbox 360 using backwards compatibility. So I'll cut over there.
I'm going to get up off the ground.
And I'll give you, you and us some game audio. And so this is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. An actual video game.
That doesn't suck.
That people actually fondly remember.
Oh, that was not a... Nope, that was bad. That hurt a lot. I need to not do that, Trey. I need to not...
So...
I'm really bad at that.
We're looking
They
at
made the pain thing a lot worse. So I played a lot of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3.
Okay.
And they made the whole like writhing around on the ground a lot worse than this one.
So I look at this game and I recognize that this game is more than 10 years old and more than 2 generations ago.
It still looks good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know? I mean, this is being upscaled, I guess, by a Xbox 360, but even still, like, I look at this game and go, yeah, right. Like, I can tell it's an old game, especially the environments, but look at that character model.
Yeah, the character model is pretty good. I mean, it plays solidly. Here,
right, and so much of these games are about the feel of the skating, and the kind of the fun in the levels and all of that.
We'll go again. I mean, I haven't unlocked any. I guess I could play the story mode.
Sure.
Instead of this. Here, let me quit. Wait, are you getting gamer points for this? For me playing?
No.
Okay.
Too early in the original Xbox's lifespan.
Okay.
I will not get some hot Achievos off of this one.
Good. Otherwise, I would insist on logging out and logging. What is this Pro Points nonsense? That's new.
New from 12 years ago. This game was launched according to the
box.
Look,
man.
Copyright 2002, 13 years ago. It's a 13-year-old game.
I'm going to play the college level, which is the one I was just playing, so I can, ride my skate. By the way, Tony Hawk, I hate you for encouraging people to use skateboards.
Try talking to some of the guys.
Blah blah blah. I don't want to talk to guys with arrows over their heads.
How else are you going to participate in the pseudo RPG mechanics?
I'm not going to. I'm going to skate. It's a Tony Hawk game, after all. Also, how do you stop in a Tony? How do you? I don't
look at me.
I don't understand the premise of that. That was something that they added between 3 and 4.
I mean, seriously, looking at this game,
they should have just up-resed it and re-released this.
They already did that with the first 3, and it didn't go very well. Right? I mean, I just think they have the wrong developer. Now, and I think even Activision knows that this is pretty bad. For instance, they didn't send copies for review to professional reviewers.
Ooh, that's when they know it's bad.
They only send it to streamers who have more views than we do.
I would play an awful Activision game for free.
Only from the condition that I didn't have to say anything nice about it.
Yeah, if I had to say something nice
I
about
think the idea was that we would drive hype. So instead we're playing a 13-year-old Activision game that I bought used.
That one really hurt. I don't understand how the score in this works. I don't understand what...
Now, one thing I will say about this Tony Hawk and the new Tony Hawk, you know, the next iteration of the series, 5, is the soundtrack's good. I mean, the soundtrack has always been essential. Apparently, Tony Hawk had a hand in the soundtrack personally.
Really? I didn't know that.
He did a big interview piece with Danny O'Dwyer, and apparently, like, he was really involved in these games.
I'm currently trying to figure out how to talk to the dude.
Presumably there's a button press.
Hey,
New
what's up,
goal.
man? I got lucky with this score. Let's see what you can do.
Ooh, listen to that studio sound.
Got a high score of 40,000 points.
You hear that shift in tone? I don't think you're going to get it that way, buddy.
Yeah. I did not go the direction I wanted to.
God, why did they bother making another one of these? Money, I guess.
Okay, we're going to retry that goal. Because that
How
was...
long do you... So you have 2 minutes
Yeah.
to rack up 40,000?
Yep.
Grinding's usually the way...
Oh yeah, well it's stringing together things is the way.
well, right, combo, yeah.
It's all about the sick combos. Because you can tack on something like a kiss the rail, or if you can jump on like grinding between one thing and another, usually that's where you get the sick points. And not crashing.
Well, that helps too.
But if you do too much of one thing, it'll devalue it, yeah.
Interesting.
So that's something that they had in previous iterations of the Tony Hawk franchise, which was really, really good because it made it so if you were really good at one trick, you could bank on that one trick for a little bit, but then you had to do something else. Otherwise, it would just keep devaluing it.
So
even
there's
if
some built-in variety, variety to the gameplay.
So yeah, let me see if I can get a couple going here. I mean, I'm not actually doing that well right now.
I mean, and these kinds of, one of the reasons why, Tony Hawk died out, it wasn't even because of Tony Hawk. It was because there were so many different games that also did this thing, right? So there was the Skate series, which was actually a really reliable competitor. There was like professional surfing games and wakeboarding games and Dave Mira BMX and all of these.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the BMX stuff.
BMS Triple X, remember that one for the GameCube? Promised nudity in your action sports game or extreme sports game. And so there's just this whole period of like maybe, 5-6 years where every game was one of these games. I swear. Everyone had one.
It's like the Rock Band. Well, then Tony Hawk tried to distinguish itself by doing. Oh, that was bad.
Story modes and.
Well, and also adding like dumb plastic stuff.
Right, but that was to go along with the plastic music craze. I mean, for a long time, there was just all of these extreme sports games. Some of them were all right, and often they would find a star of that sport, even the surfing games. And
yeah, even though you never would think of a star of that sport.
Well, they picked a female surfer, I believe.
For obvious reasons.
Apparently, she could really surf.
I'm sure that's why they picked her for her own game.
I appreciate her skill as a surfer.
And
Activision, or whoever, the publisher was on the other hand, I make no claim. There was even a Razor scooter game that wasn't bad.
I forgot about that one. That was an awesome game.
Yeah.
That was legitimately a really dumb... So it's like, the Goat Simulator of the past.
Yeah, I mean, there was more game than Goat Simulator. Goat Simulator is...
It's not really a game, but it's stupid fun.
It is stupid
I
fun.
own Goat Simulator, for the record, so we could do that on one of the shows.
Yeah, we should. We should check back in on it, because I know they made some changes.
At first, it wasn't exactly what people thought it was going to be, and I think that was part of their problem. I'm not going to get 40,000. That's a high score.
You just got to pull some more sick tricks. You just got to be sick. You got to put on a clinic, and other phrases like that.
And other phrases, I gotta put on my Vans.
Yeah,
lace up my, or I guess I would not lace up my Vans.
You would not. Periodically, I check in on the X Games just cause, and I learned a whole lot of interesting words, and then I stopped watching the X Games for the rest of the year.
Because it's the X Games.
Well, one of my favorite events in the Winter X Games is where they You know how that you do motorcycle jumping? They do that with snowmobiles.
Oh yeah, that is really stupid.
And periodically, like, people get killed. And I think I saw one competition where a guy did end up dying. Look, I mean,
I
at
did
some
not
point,
do well on this one.
at some point, you end up flipped upside down with the snowmobile above you.
And you really wonder why it is people die in that sport. I'm really.
What I don't understand is how do you practice that sport?
A lot of visualization, I'm sure.
Well, now it turns out there are foam pits, and you jump them over foam. I've researched this. It's the same thing I used when I was a gymnast for tricks that could break your arm if done over mats. They've just expanded it for you and your ski-doo.
My ski-doo?
Ski-doo.
Is that the technical term?
That's what the Canadians call it.
Look, okay, Canadians have weird words for a lot of things.
No, for us, ski-doos are wave runners. We think of ski-doos as watercraft. For the Canadians, where it's frozen all the time, they think of them as...
That was good. 10,000 right there.
It's a brand name, but they also make snowmobiles.
Oh, that was almost awesome. Did you see me jump from that one to the other?
Yeah.
See, I've never been good at like...
You're closer than you were, though.
I always have the problem of overcorrecting whenever I'm grinding.
Yeah, me too.
I could never master that. Like,
You can never master grinding?
yeah.
We'll talk about that after the show.
You know, I know this is not exactly a safe for work or a family-friendly podcast, but we probably should keep that one off the podcast.
I'm just saying. Sick Melon 540.
See, if I misjudge the distance, I'm screwed.
You KO'd into some stairs.
I did.
This is the strangest looking college I've ever attended.
I know.
I've
My college did not have half pipes.
None of mine did, as far as I know. Spent a long time in school. I've never seen one that quite looked like this. Ooh, sweet. Oh, wow. You did make it, but you made it more so.
Oh! If I had landed that, I would have made it.
So how does it feel in 2015?
I mean, it still feels. So part of this is that I have played a lot of this on my N64 recently. But even that being said, it feels with the HD and everything else. It feels like a like a Tony Hawk game is supposed to feel like. I mean, I think that
You missed the M.
I wasn't paying attention to what my goal was.
You missed the C.
To get a sick combo, that's what my goal is. I fell off. Man, this is harder than it looks.
Uh-huh.
So I can't just get the letters. I have to actually... See, I keep catching the little last edge there. All right, I'm gonna jump over.
Oh, also, you can't just do that straight up retry in the new game. It's not just retry in your back. It's retry, click retry, loading screen.
Oh, see, this is...
Show up, receive your challenge. I mean, there's a lot of
Oh, that's really stupid.
There's steps between you and retrying.
Forget this one. Yeah, so that was always one of the best things because you'd always start and do something really, really stupid.
And then just restart right away.
And you go, you know what? That was dumb. I'm not doing that again.
Well, that's what even games like Super Meat Boy, right? Real challenging, but once you die, you're right back in it. Tony Hawk had that same kind of thing, where some of these things they set for you are legitimately challenging
and are ridiculous if you know they're asking you to do it perfectly.
But you can get back in there very quickly. That doesn't exist in the next iteration of the Tony Hawk skills.
The best.
Start
out with some spine transfers. Are those bumpers or triggers?
Left and right. This would be the original Xbox, so my bet is that's triggers. Because did the original Xbox have bumpers? I could go grab a controller from the, stash and find out, but I think it was only triggers.
Yeah, no, I think they added bumpers later. I think you're right.
I think bumpers were a 360 thing.
Okay, so they wanted me to do a A spine transfer over the wall. And out of oh man, I tried to fancy it up a little bit too much.
With a
there.
melon?
Yeah. Well, so you see, you use the C stick to modify everything. So
Right.
This is actually way harder than I thought it would be.
The game? Or spine transfer?
Spine transfers. Although the game is always... Tony Hawk is one of those games that makes everybody look stupid.
Sure. Nice.
Now, indie.
So indie while spine transferring?
Yep.
Jeez. That was a melon. Apparently.
Apparently. Alright, I got this. Spine transfer. No, I pressed the wrong direction. Damn it.
You have 34 seconds.
Yeah, unless there's... Oh. I'm gonna go with I ain't getting it.
Should restart?
I tried a Japan.
I saw that. Still not what you're supposed to do.
Alright, I got this. I tried to... My problem is I always hit the melon button.
I've noticed that, yeah. Uh-huh.
I didn't square back up with it there, you saw that? I just kept spinning.
You make it look so easy and effortless.
Oh, what can I say?
True artistry makes it look easy.
I have a talent. That was a heel flip, not a kick flip.
I think you broke your leg.
I do that.
The sound effects are
That one.
gruesome.
That
the
one really.
squish? The little squishing noise? That was not a spine transfer.
Apparently. Just can't land the damn thing.
Yep, I'm picking up on that.
It's getting me out of my rhythm.
There you go. Nicely done. Now what?
I have to do an indie over the wall.
You did it!
Victory!
Nice.
Ha! I set a new record.
You set a new record
That's
on
not much of a record.
on this game that we haven't touched before.
If I'm being honest. Oh,
Okay.
I get to improve a stat.
Okay, so we've played this game a bunch.
I'm gonna increase my speed.
So what I propose we do is we go a little further back in time, just so you can see how this game progressed. We're gonna go check out Tony Hawk.
Well, I need to save my career. Okay, this is important.
We're gonna go to Tony Hawk 2X, which was launched, I think, which was launched alongside, or would have come out actually before there was an Xbox, and that's why it's the 2X, because it launched other places first, which also 3 did, I think.
Yeah, no, because I have 3 on the N64, and it was one of the late N64 games.
Well, it would have had to have been, yeah, if it was cross-gen with this, because the N64.
I think it was the last Tony Hawk for the N64, if I remember correctly.
So GameCube launches with the original Xbox in 2001.
I got it. Yeah, I'm pressing close tray, right?
This is difficult. So the original Xbox and the GameCube launched both in the fall of 2001. PS2 in 2000.
So this would have been to flesh out their back catalog, the
Yeah.
2X.
Yeah.
All right.
Or maybe even have a Tony Hawk game at launch. I don't
Tony Hawk
pretend
was a
to.
big deal.
Oh man, look at that 480.
Yeah, no, there's no upres in this.
This is.
Look at the video.
Oh man. Well, think how crazy it is.
They added this for the X. This was part of what they added for the Xbox.
Yeah, because no N64 is playing this much.
The N64 would have gone, what?
What? We don't have the space for that. In our
1999, 2000
yeah.
Activision.
Oh, look at those menus.
Oh man, this single session. All right.
This is only 2 years previous.
Oh, I can edit my style.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna be style B.
Style B, Tony Hawk? What are you wearing on your head?
Oh, look, man. Don't ask questions.
The Hanger, Mullet Falls Mountain.
Yeah, now we're gonna do the hangar at Mullet Falls. I don't have enough hair to play somewhere called Mullet Falls.
You don't have enough hair, period.
You're not gonna finish that thought?
I did finish that thought. So I do this purely for the historical interest.
See, look, mix up your tricks for higher scores.
Right. Yeah, no, I believe you. You know what,
Oh,
though?
the hangar.
Look at that character model. Jimmy, so often I go back to video games of yore and I go, oh man, that looks like garbage now.
This one does not.
This doesn't. I mean,
This actually, you know...
It's in 480. I mean, I can't...
In a strange way, this actually does not look as good as the other one, the 4, because this wasn't trying for as much.
Well, and also 4 is stretched out. So 4 wouldn't have... The 4 we just watched would have probably still been native in 480.
Oops.
Native in 4x3. And it got stretched.
Right.
My bet is it got stretched out. Because this looks more crisp than the other one. That's 2 years older. Or 2 years younger, rather. Jeez.
Oh, that was a bad...
I mean, the environments and the textures look pretty muddy.
I mean, it's very much the Doom 2.
Yeah. I mean,
Same kind of texture mapping going on here.
yeah. I mean, it's not that real if you think about it.
But the physics all are the same, which is the interesting thing to me. Is
well,
that,
to me, it's the character model.
and the
right?
character model is...
I look at
I
that
mean,
and go, that's recognizably human.
It's definitely not... That's definitely something that they improved between this one and 4.
I mean, this is
right?
only 3 years after the very angular Lara Croft. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the very pointy
The
Lara
mostly
Croft.
triangles Lara Croft.
See, look, I can't even get 40,000 in
I mean, I
this
guess
one.
that was a PS1 game, and this is PS2 era. But early PS2 era.
So close.
Obviously, graphics upgraded for at least somewhat for the original Xbox.
And then this old school menu system here.
Because you got to realize the original Xbox was massively more powerful than anything on the system.
Oh yeah, it was a computer.
Well, no, it took every spec the PS2 had and literally doubled it. So PS2 is a 300 megahertz something processor. The original Xbox, 700 megahertz processor.
Because why not?
The PS2 had like a 32 megabyte graphics card. How much do you think the original Xbox had? It's a 64 megabyte graphics
Well,
card.
but they were trying to break into a market that they'd never been in,
Using basically off-the-shelf PC parts.
and they were rather effective.
To me, I look at the original Xbox as one of the craziest pieces of gaming hardware produced. Because it was this, I mean, it was massive. It still, I mean, to this day, feels just massive and ridiculous and gaudy. And it was the most, like, American way to enter a game system, right? Game system war. You have the Dreamcast, which is slim and white and looks like an iPod. And you have the PS2, which wasn't, tiny, but, had like it's kind of some subtlety to its design. And the original Xbox was like this huge green and black.
We will destroy you.
Right, and it literally, and added an 8 gigabyte hard drive. And it was, remember, that was revolutionary. To have an actual onboard hard drive in a game system. I mean, they even sold Xbox 360s without a hard drive, which I've always thought was a mistake.
I've always thought it's weird, honestly.
Well, it was to cut price.
Well, they had to, they had to compete. But you always feel like these are things that Microsoft got into just because, why not?
Yeah, well, with Sega very clearly exiting the market, I think there was room for it, and so Microsoft, in a weird way, picked the right time, and it was also a time of transition for Nintendo. So up until that point, we think of now Nintendo as, Nintendo's always behind on hardware. That wasn't necessarily true. right? When PlayStation went disc, when Sony and PlayStation went disc-based 32-bit, they went cartridge-based but 64-bit. So up until the end of the N64 era, they were competing on tech and graphic quality. With the GameCube, they backed off. They said, "We're more powerful.
Ooh.
We're more powerful than the PS2, but we're not going to win this thing." And then they never competed before. Whereas Microsoft has consistently said, no, we're going to compete on tech. We're going to compete on horsepower.
But that's a very Microsoft solution to the problem.
And, you know, theoretically, they're going to compete on price. Although they didn't do it this time, let me tell you.
Well, they've come down, though.
They have. And now
They didn't compete on price originally. Sorry, I just have to put my high score here.
Sure. And then we can...
That you'll never, ever defeat me at.
You're probably right.
All right.
There's no guarantee.
Go, watch my replay.
I'll own these games a week from now.
Watch. See. Look at my.
Yeah, I'll look at your sweet.
I love the replay.
I'm gonna look at your sweet skate tape.
I mean, what can I say?
Look at you slowly judder around the screen. Look at that.
Yeah, that's really. Do you think that's the up-resing?
No, that's just how it handles your input. Driving games of this era did that too. Because it's just how your input is. Your input isn't smooth. And so it's just capturing that. That's not a graphical thing. That's a gameplay issue. You don't notice it when you're controlling your character. But I remember watching replays of driving games. You get that same problem. Where you're just kind of juddering your character.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't... I'll be honest. I never watched...
Yeah, that's the unsteadiness of your input. It's, you know...
Interesting.
You know, it's all radical.
Right.
So Jimmy, you had a question you wanted to pose.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this console off.
Sure.
So my company provides a $100 stipend.
Okay.
For cell phones.
Okay.
And the expectation is that you'll provide a cell phone number that you can be reached at any time, and you can use that money basically however you wish.
Sure.
So I've thought of a couple of different ways to try to handle it, and I'm not exactly sure which one's the best. So the couple of ways I've kind of sussed out in my head are, you do the logical thing that everyone's been doing for years, which is you buy another cell phone.
You have two phones.
Or you just have your work phone as your primary phone, right? So you don't have two phones.
Sure.
You have one company-provided cell phone. Either whether that's the company provides it themselves or the company subsidizes it or whatever.
Right.
So that's option one. Option two is you do something like a Skype number, which I know that you've done.
Mm-hmm, I have.
So
I've actually done both of these things. Right?
Where it's a call out, right? And you had the
Lumia 1020.
Lumia 1020, and then you also could do something like a Google Voice,
right?
Or some similar service to that. Google Voice is the big one, where you have a cell phone number, you have a phone number, it really only lives in the digital domain,
right?
And then it calls out to multiple different phones. And then we have Skype for Business now, so this kind of would be the logical thing where you can set it up to forward to your cell phone.
Okay.
So it'll, and I've actually seen it in practice. What it does is it will ring first. The first ring will be on your Link phone or Skype for Business phone,
right.
And then it'll start ringing on your cell phone.
And so then you live in some hell where so many devices just start ringing.
Yeah, like the Paul Thurrott world where
right.
someone calls him on Skype and everything rings.
That's how my office turns into do. And at one point, maybe it was Facebook Messenger, something was also ringing on my Apple Watch. And I was like, I'm living in the nightmare future of notifications.
Yeah, I need to turn off vibration on my watch because that makes it so much worse.
See, I don't have noise alerts on, we're digressing, but I don't have noise alerts on my watch. I just do the vibration.
Yeah, I only have
that's
vibration.
That's actually really useful for meetings and such.
So, but I guess my question is, which one of the, I guess the fundamental question is, which one of these do you think is best? And do you think that the web stuff is really there, that it can be relied upon?
So I'll tell you, the two-device thing turns very quickly into some kind of nightmare. Because...
Wait, my other phone is ringing?
Right, wait, my other phone is ringing, or how do I remember to carry this other phone? And then you start to feel like Batman, because you really need like a utility belt to carry all these things around.
Then you become like that office worker that's got the iPhone 6 Plus
on a belt holster.
On a belt clip with the OtterBox belt clip.
Right.
So the thing is approximately the size of an iPad mini.
Right.
And is clipped to the side of you.
It's the size of my original Macintosh. I was very glad to move away from 2 devices.
Right.
And that's not a knock on the 1020. I liked it as a device. But I did not like my future of 2 smartphones. Because it turns out that so many of the services duplicate. So like my email was going to 2 places. It's just so much email and so much notifications and so many Facebook things. And it became a mess.
But the 1020 made you actually, look at Facebook. So that was a victory.
It did, briefly. The other issue is a lot of these platforms don't talk well to each other.
Right.
So I couldn't get my Apple calendar, my iCloud calendar, on my Lumia 1020. Well, my only calendar is my iCloud calendar. I don't use Google Calendar. I don't use Outlook Calendar. I don't use, even when I was on Exchange at Emory, I didn't use my Exchange calendar. I use iCloud Calendar, and I have since like 2007. Like I have for a very long time.
Now I think that's a weird Apple problem. That's only really presented because I'm not considering an iPhone.
Sure.
But I think that's a problem that's really presented if you are in the Apple ecosystem currently or looking at getting into the Apple ecosystem. Right. In my case, I'm in an Android ecosystem and a Windows 7 and Azure Exchange server ecosystem.
Yeah, and so you should be able to get along.
So it already,
fine.
I already have my my work stuff is already on here as far as my work email. And so it syncs all my calendar events, and it actually provides me Google Now updates based on my Outlook calendar events.
Right, because it's analyzing. I mean, honestly, something that gets that work number on to me, in kind of a work-life balance thing, you want to be able to know when it's a work number thing versus a personal number thing. I had that at my previous job. I don't have that now. That piece I do miss. I miss having a separate work number. Partly, my job is weird that, if I'm getting a work call at 2 o'clock in the morning, I need to prioritize that. It means someone is literally dying. I mean, that,
right.
Life of a pastor.
For most people, though, and one of the reasons why I considered the separate phone approach originally was that way I could provide a okay, I am no longer on work. I will turn this phone off.
Right.
And
you can also shut down. I mean, you can put
Do Not Disturb stuff on Google Voice. So I could tell it, like, if I set up a Google, and I might try that. I might set up a number, and then if I need to use it somewhere else, I'll just port that number.
Right.
But I'll set up a Google Voice number, and you can say, do not disturb between the hours of, 6 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, I like devices, right? Obviously, like, we're surrounded by them. But the carrying around 2 phones gets really old. It really does. And it still turned out that I was using my iPhone 80% of the time. Because that's where even for work, because that's where all of my calendar could go. And all of my email could go. Right,
and I've seen you in that weird dance before where you'd be looking at something on the Lumia and you go, and you put it down and you pull out the iPhone.
Well, some of that is, I think, I've always thought that Windows Phone 8's browser is garbage.
It is, actually.
At least compared to the iPhone's browser. Or the fact that I get Chrome on my iPhone, which is something else I use a lot. So, between those 2 things, that's part of why I leaned towards my iPhone. Because some of it's the Apple lock-in stuff, some of it's the browser, but the other thing is you have... Probably, if you're watching the show, you have too many screens as it is. And this is introducing yet another device where smartphones are supposed to be decreasing the amount of clutter. So I say go with some version of the web services.
Yeah.
So, I mean, or I've had great success with Skype. You just leave the Skype app open, and people can call your Skype number, and it'll just ring like it's a phone, and so you just leave that on in the background, and then you can close your Skype app when you're not working, and then it won't ring. And so that's one way to do it.
Well, so like the Google method is free.
So the Skype method costs.
But it's not a lot. It's like $10 a month.
It's $10 a month, and that gives you a lot of niceties if you are a weirdo like me who needs these things, like, you know,
Well, the other thing
all the
then you can
international
do-
calling and all of that.
Well, the other thing
All the
then you-
international calling and all of that.
And I almost wonder if I need to explore more into the link Skype for Business aspect of this, where I can set up so that when you call my direct line at my office, I can set it up so it'll forward. But my fear is that I'll set that up and I'll forget to turn it off.
Yeah.
And then it'll just keep forwarding.
Right.
So I'd rather have that set up to forward to a work cell phone number.
Right.
And then have a that cell phone number also published, and then I'd either route that through. But I'm afraid I'm gonna get like a route through to a route through to a route through to my phone.
Well, yeah, you gotta watch your redirects.
Right. I want to come up with the simplest. I feel like Skype,
Just
cell phone,
normal Skype.
the Skype number is
Right.
the easiest solution to this
Yeah,
problem.
it is. It's easy. It works. They had an outage recently, but generally speaking, it's reliable technology.
Well, and the other thing about it is that from a business perspective, I can call out from that from a cell phone.
Right.
Not from any cell phone, not just my cell phone. I can
Right.
call out from a computer. I can call out
Right. From anything.
from
your
anything.
desktop.
Even if I have awful wireless reception, it's going to ring.
If you have Wi-Fi.
Right, because it is the truest sense of a Wi-Fi.
Right, and it'll work over.
Phone.
It'll work on LTE. It'll work on 3G, but it'll also work on.
Now, does it
work
suck
on
down data like crazy when you're on? I'll have to test that.
Well, I mean, define like crazy. If you're on, say, an international data plan, where you have perhaps bought 120 megabytes for the month, yes, it sucks down data like crazy.
But if you're on a normal person, like, so I think I have 3 gigs with T-Mobile.
I don't think you're going to die.
Okay.
I mean, I have used this on 120 megabytes of AT&T data, and I was hurting, but it wasn't the end of the world.
Okay.
Your mileage may vary, but I think, because in the end it's just audio that's passing, Skype video is the real thing that sucks it down. But this is not.
Yeah, I might have to look into on Microsoft because Microsoft is pretty good about telling you, hey, this is what kind of bandwidth you need for these different services. And I bet you that they'll tell you if they want you to use that as an actual cell phone, like an actual phone number.
Which they do.
I bet you
I
they'll
mean,
tell you
they
what the
offer it.
bandwidth usage is.
It also offers text messaging. It works like a real cell phone number. You can send and receive messages. Excuse me.
The other thing is I can do this really crazy thing where I use my Lumia 640 as my second phone.
Yeah,
if
but
I really wanted to.
But then you're still trapped in that
Yeah,
two device loop that ended up being very unsatisfactory for me. It really was. And I would love, from a coverage point of view, for you and I both to be locked into a loop where we're buying a phone every year. This would be good for the website. This is not perhaps the way you want to live your actual life.
Right. That's true.
Ever. You don't. When you set down both of your phones on the table, you look like a very important executive. But you're still tethered
Or douchebag.
or that too. Or that strange brief future where I was carrying 3 phones.
Where you had the Lumia,
Yeah,
the iPhone,
and the Asha.
And the Asha.
Yeah.
The Nokia, the Asha.
That was Brazil. I had the Lumia, the iPhone, and the Asha. And this was only a week, but I was living in some post-apocalyptic future where I was handling our in-country Brazil contacts on the Asha. I was connected to work on the Lumia, and the rest of my life was on my iPhone.
Right.
And so I had 2 international calling plans, 2 international data plans, and a Brazilian prepaid plan. Don't live in that world. It's not okay.
And on that,
Yeah, on that note, we should probably
It's
get out
time
of
to
here.
end.
It's time to end. It's just whatever you do not reach the point in your life where you have 3 phones. It's just not worth
rule
it.
number 1 is Occam's razor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The simplest solution is probably the right one. final. Astros 3. What can I say? You had the right pitcher for this one.
Yeah, I look oh, who are they going to put in? They're putting Keuchel on limited rest? And they went, yeah, that's all or nothing. Oh no, he may not be available for next.
He will be available for the next series. What I said was, you put him in, but he's going to hit a point before 100 pitches, or he's just going to go downhill.
Even Sal's Keuchel, I mean, he's pretty. He can last. Like, he's got some stamina.
Right. Well, but that's where like you use him as far as you can, but you don't overwork him if you're going in with a